Hi, I'm Sarah Jane from Natural Heating, and we have here today a new stove on test. This is the Hunter PARKRAY Aspect 14. This stove is probably one of the biggest 2022 eco design stoves there is currently available on the market, having a heat output range to the room of 8 to 15 kilowatt. That's the same as 8 to 15 1 metre wide modern convection radiators. It's a hell of a lot of heat. This isn't the sort of stove you're going to put in an average home. It really is going to be suited to barn conversions, big farmhouses, somewhere with high voltage ceilings perhaps that needs a lot of heat output. It's got a huge firebox on the inside, so big that we did manage to fit a 7-year-old child in it as a test in the shop on Saturday morning, just because the stove had never been lit, but it was just so we could give you a visual aspect on the size. It really is enormous. So I've just lit this unit and it's only been going for a minute or two. I've got tape measure out just so you can see. It is 660 high by about 660 wide and 550 millimeters deep. It's got a 560 millimeter internal width firebox, so we'll easily take your ½ metre long log for the French market. And it's about 14 inches, 350 millimetre or so internal depth. So you can get some right whacking big logs in there for a big long burn time if that's what you want. Like anything, it's with the 2022 units, it's designed to be clean burning. So no overnight burns. It's not meant for that at all. It's not a continual burning 24/7 unit. But if you've got a big space to heat and get up to temperature quickly, perhaps this is the stove for you. I've only literally just lit it, so we'll come back to it once it's up to temperature and see how we get on. But so far, it's a nice, great big bright firebox in the inside. We'll see how it does. Okay, so this is still on a kindling fire, and what you're seeing here is burning the carbon down at the top. That's why we're starting to get a clear patch in the middle as it's starting to burn it off. So it's nowhere near up to temperature yet, we're just getting it going. Now what I was really quite concerned about this stove before putting it on test was how badly it's going to spill, because when you've got such a big stove, there's always a chance of more gases coming out the front. This system is already very compromised. You would never fit a system like this into a house because, well, you don't run more than one stove off one flue, so that really reduces the power intake on the stove. There's no fan or anything on here. And what I wanted to do is check that this stove will actually draw nicely without back smoking and sending smoke into the room, which is common on a lot of 2022 stoves, especially with big doors. And given this is not up to temperature and there is nothing coming out the front, that's actually quite impressive. Because that really was a worry with this. And yeah, looks like I've got nothing to worry about. We'll see what it's like when it's up to temperature. This fire, the Aspect 14, has now been burning for about an hour on mid-air, so it's halfway through and it's lovely and clean. The glass is lovely and clean. Yeah, as you can see, I ended up with about 4 or 5 logs in there, and it is belting out the heat. And that's on half burn. There's lots of air travel on it. So there's loads of control, more control than I thought there would be. And I have to say, I'm quite pleased with the cleanliness and, you know, even the paint. Paint usually stinks when it's going off. And I expected we would have to just about fumigate the place this morning, leave all the doors and windows open like we normally would. And it's really not been too bad at all. It went very, very quickly. So, yeah, the handle gets hot. You're going to need a glove on this, which you can sort of expect. And this is a big stove on a 5-inch flue, and I really did expect that to spill, especially when we're not even down to red ember. And there's no smoke spillage out the front, which is pretty incredible for such a big firebox. So what I'm going to do is grab another log out the log basket and put one in there so we can get some more flame, so you can see how much control there is on it. Now the handle is a bit hot, so it's definitely not a cool touch handle that you can use with that glove. One of the rather incredible things that this stove is, I mean, the heat is massive, but it can go just 100 millimeters from combustible walling. Now, That's about 5 inches on this, but this has heat-proof boarding. But look, this stove's been on for an hour and it's hot on the back, like a hot radiator. But I can actually touch that. That's my hand on there. I wouldn't have thought I could have done that with the stove so big. I really didn't. Anyway, let's fully open the air up. Give it a chance to have a boost and see what it can do. So the speed of that fire is picking up quite nicely. We've got loads of flame in there. Now can I back you off a bit? Right. So we'll move back a bit. So I'm going to push this in so we can see how much air control we've got. And that's really coming to check quick. And a lot. Now, I didn't used to like the previous aspects in the older versions from Hunters because the air vent used to squeak like chalk on a chalkboard. And this is making no noise at all. It's nice and smooth. There's no resistance. And it's very reactive. And it's fast. As a test, what I'm now going to do, we can see the gases combusting off. I'm going to leave this on minimum air, right shut down, which I would never normally burn them at its absolute lowest, and come back in about 20 minutes and see how clean it is. It's been 25 minutes and the stove has been totally shut down. I really wouldn't recommend burning a stove this low. It just shows you how low this stove does actually go right enough. It's pretty fogged up in there, but the fire is still alight, but very, very low. I'd like to have seen it with a bit more flame than that and the air vent not go quite so low, so a bit less user control on it. It's too controllable almost. But as you can see, I've just opened it fully back up and it's kicking into life. So hopefully on maximum air, if it does its job right, it should clean this glass down quite nicely. There's a bit of tarnishing on there, but it's not too bad. For being so low, that's pretty incredible, to be honest. These starter stoves aren't designed to be burned overnight. They really aren't. You want to be always burning a modern stove showing a flame, not shut right down. It just shows you though that this stove has got a lot of control. But I think your fire would go out if you burn for a prolonged period of time like that. Saying that, the glass is starting to clear already, but it's definitely not meant to be burning that low. I can't fault this. I wanted to fault it because being on a 5-inch flue, the actual science behind it says that there shouldn't be enough airflow or enough air draw on a stove with that small a flue socket on such a big unit. I mean, look at the size of it. That's a 5-inch flue coming out the top of this unit versus a 6-inch flue on the top of that unit. And that just looks tiny, absolutely tiny. But to be fair, no matter what I've thrown at this so far, it's doing well. So there you go. I can't give you any reason not to buy one of these because it seems to do its job really well. I think that ash retention could be a bit of an issue. The glass is staying nice and clean. I would have liked to have seen a higher ash retention bar in the inside. If this is burning all day long, I've got a funny feeling that I could end up with too much ash in the inside and making a mess on the hearth. I'd have liked to have seen a higher ash bar. Then again, it could prove me wrong on that too. It's not cold enough today for me to burn this fire all day, but we are now at 2 o'clock and this has probably been burning for the best part of 3.5 hours. And you know, the inside of that firebox, there's plenty of space in there. You could put more fuel in it, really doesn't need it. It's belting the heat out, which is exactly what we want it for. The glass has come back to being pretty damn clean, a little bit of residual effort, but that's after it's been shot right down as well. And you saw it, the fire was pretty much out. That handle's hot. Hand up the sleeve trick. prime the door, let some air in before you fully open it. You shouldn't re-open the door unless it's on chunky red ember. It is spilling a little bit at the minute. There is some air spill out the top. Not very much, only a tiny bit. But then again, I'm not doing this the way I should be. That should be down to chunky red ember before you reload. And there's a lot of unburnt fuel in there. I'm going to say it passes, and it passes remarkably well. Yep. This is the Hunter PARKRAY Aspect 14. And at a nice midpoint burn, it ticks over rather nicely. Okay, it's now 6 p.m. and contrary to what I said earlier, I have actually burnt this stove all day. It's roasting in here. We've loaded it a few times. It's still sat on middle burn, but you can see how much ash there is in here. So it's been burning about 8 hours now in total since I first lit it. On regular reload plus about half an hour or so shut right down. So there's quite a significant ember bed in there, but there's no white ash floating out the door, or very little anyway. There's a good chunky ember bed, a lot of ember bed in the inside, and not a lot of mess, and no spillage out the front. The odd little flake of ash there, but it is odd, and given the amount of ash in that firebox, that loose ash and that ember, that's really not very much. I'm going to be really interested to video this in the morning and show what ash is left after this fire goes out. It's hot.